John, Byron. This is my setup. Doing the sled. Want to see how that works. We made it in here a couple miles back on the kind of icy road, and this is where we're headed. Up into that wall of brush. But there is an old Forest Service road that runs up in, so we got to get to it. We're walking in about 3/4 of a mile in. Been a steady pull the whole time, and there's a little place where they log landing, and there's some grass growing up here, which will make excellent fire starter, good and dry, and that'll definitely catch a spark. So grabbing some of that because we don't know what we're going to find where we finally decide to camp, but we're headed up this direction and see what's up there. I know there's another logged over area, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so I think we found our spot. There's a stream back behind us here, and then this big root ball from the blowed over tree. Maybe do a fire down below it. That way we've got a reflective back. There's a lot of little brush in here we're gonna have to clear out because that's kind of everywhere. And then back up this way, big clear cut, a lot of saplings in there. They're thick as anything, so nobody's gonna miss a couple of those missing, that's for sure. And good firewood right here. The one dead tree that's back there, but it's got a heavy lean towards the stream, so I'm not too worried about that thing. Might go push on it, make sure it's not gonna fall down tonight, but I don't think it's going to. Yeah, pretty good spot here. So also out in the sunshine like this, it feels pretty nice out here right now. This weather's gonna turn on us real quick. So there's snow all day tomorrow, so we gotta get to work, getting the shelter gone. And Byron's doing a hammock, and John's doing a tarp tent. Is it? Yeah. Okay.
TP.
So, TP. All right. So we'll all have 3 different setups, and we'll see which one works the best. Mine's going to be the most work, though. First thing I got to do here is just clear the shelter site, scrape the snow off, and get all the old leaves and the rocks out. And there's a lot of rocks there. I didn't bring a shovel. I just have my axe, and I hit a boulder right in the middle. This thing's like the mother of all rocks. But on the plus side, it made a really nice fireplace stone, so I guess that was worth it. There's probably a 50-pound rock buried in there with the pointy side straight up into where I was going to be sleeping, so it had to come out. That's a boulder. But the GoPro battery died just at the moment of victory, so you don't get to see the size of the rock as I pull it out of there, but you'll see it later in the back of the fireplace. Found a spot here and cleared it out, dug the boulder out of the middle here, and then set up a little fireplace. Now I need to go get some materials for the walls and figure this out. He's about getting his hammock set up. John's already done. Alright. Found some Polonia trees or something like that. It's either Polonia or sumac. Real fast growing, real thick in here. All this junk. I'm cutting some poles out of that. That ought to do well. I think I'm going to try, probably just do an A-frame. I'm not sure. Just judging by materials, I think that's what's going to work the best. So, we'll get on it. Hello? Anyone? I don't see any tracks running in and out. So. If there is anything in there, it's probably sound asleep hibernating. Still pretty cool finding a big hollow like that. It's thick in here. Got the shelter site cleared out. I'm gonna get some saplings. These are real straight. I don't know what kind of wood this is. But this place is absolutely choked with it. Like acres and acres and acres where you can't push your way through. So it's a little clearer than that. It could hurt anything. figure it's considered an inferior tree anyway. But here's some more poles that I cut. This is kind of cool. Deer have been scraping here. All right. Not too far from camp. I didn't even see this back here till I walked in. There's a pine tree that snapped off. And that's it right here. Comes on down. It's got a hole. I mean, not a ton of top, but a bunch of green stuff here that I can use. And that's really what I need, because there's not that many low-growing pines, not in profusion. I kind of feel bad if I cut some, live stuff down. So I'm not going to go that route. I might take a few little twigs off of each one. Up the hill, there's a kind of a group of them, but this is gold right here. So, tip for assembling the shelter: I'm using snare wire for my lashing. Could use parachute cord, could use other things, but I find snare wire works pretty well.
Oh yeah. I think it'll be okay. But you don't have to worry about rain as much, right?
Yeah.
And once you sit in the hammock, it'll sag a little bit too.
Yeah, I got you.
It's pretty cozy in my tent.
Just pretty simple lean-to, I think, here. Yeah? What do you think?
It'll give more stability once you do one across the
Yeah.
too.
I mean, but like as far as size.
Oh yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about which way the wind is going to blow?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to come out of this way for the storm, but the prevailing wind is this way. Like,
Yeah, I've been watching clouds go this way.
so
Yeah, you can see these clouds right
if I
here.
have a fire, I'm thinking it's going to take the smoke one way or the other.
Right.
But hopefully not into the shelter, but whatever.
So if you could choose one, axe or saw.
It's a tough decision, dude.
Oh, I know.
Like,
They both have their very unique advantages.
I would say the axe actually has a little bit more of an important role.
Yeah.
Because it'll do just a few things that the hatchet or that the saw won't.
Yeah.
But man, the saw is efficient. We'll see if the tinder's dry enough.
Yeah. I see.
All right. The shelter set up. Tarp's got a back tarp around the corner. I'll kind of walk around there. I'm getting firewood set up so I can have a fire on there tonight. And tomorrow I'll brush in this end, kind of make it a little more wind tight, airtight. Not really airtight, but so the wind isn't howling down on me. But I had that small tarp set up in the direction of the prevailing wind of the storm, so that's east. It should be coming in from the east. It'll probably full mean come in from the west, but whatever. And then I'm cutting some firewood up. Just kind of walk around. What hat is that?
Canadian
Okay.
hat?
Huh?
Canadian hat?
Yeah. I've been looking for one, so I was taking suggestions on what brand might be good.
Oh,
I know Fjallraven makes them.
yeah, I mean, that would be a really good one. This is just like whatever.
Yeah. Cool. So the first day was pretty melty snow. It was above freezing temperatures until right about sunset. So Byron's boots just got absolutely saturated. And wet feet are not much fun. So we couldn't just leave him out, but he had a fire down by that blowed over stump. But if we left him out and it snowed overnight, that wouldn't be good. So I brought him into my shelter, and I just kept turning him. And I eventually got him dry by my little fire, so that was pretty nice. And there's my wife's hair hanging off my socks. I noticed that in the firelight. I thought that was kind of cool. And the next morning, the snow begins. Pretty. The pellet snow is about to change over to finer snow, I think, as it gets colder, but that'll rain. Maybe it's getting warmer. The pellet snow. Go. Last night I had to stuff a bunch of grass back in there. The wind was just howling through. I'll probably stuff some more in today. Or maybe some pine stuff, but I did reasonably well. Last night my hat got soaked, so it like fell off my head and then went underneath of the sleeping bag and the ground cover and everything, and just got into the mud. So it was pretty wet. I dried it this morning, made coffee, got sardines heating up on the rocks. So breakfast. Really wet snow falling. I've done a little bit to the shelter. Just added some more pine branches here. Just going around cutting like a couple branches off each tree just down low where they're gonna wind up dying anyway. So just to close that gap in. And fire pit a little more built up to try to get it to reflect some more heat in. The wind's changed and the smoke is kind of going in, but once you get up in there further, it's not so bad, like it, because it's carrying it out to the right here. And added some stuffing in the back there. Still see through it a little bit. I'll have to work on that, but that grass stuff, and that helped less wind come through. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be dropping all night long. And it's supposed to be about 10 degrees by the time we wake up. Pretty chilly. But tomorrow's our last day. So, and made some mistakes. I mean, yeah. With the purlins going across this way, it winds up pulling up water, which I kind of suspected that would happen. I should have done another layer of poles going this way to get the water to go down. But also, because I'm on a bit of a hill, it slopes off to the left. And you got the heat source. It's melting the snow that falls on the tarp, and then that's running down. Now it's not running in, but it has the potential to. So honestly, I should have built the shelter the opposite way, with the slope going this way. Fire pit maybe on an end. I don't know. Have to figure that out as you go. But fire pit, and then the water would be at least carried off downhill as it comes off the tarp. But I say water's wet is right now the struggle, the battle, like as it's blowing into the shelter a little bit. Definitely damped the edge of my shemagh, and once you get up in there, it's pretty good and dry. But yeah, it's just wet snow. Not much you can do about it. So with all that wet snow coming into the shelter, obviously it's a problem. So I wound up taking that tarp and unfolding it over top of the fire, and that makes all the difference. And then it stops all that snow from coming in. So if you have an issue, like, take care of it. Don't just sit there and go, oh gee, this sucks. We took a hike around, probably went on a 2-mile hike to the top of the second clear cut, and really pretty up there. You can see the mountains in the background. Snow blowing off the trees. It's so pretty up there. So I went on a solo, just a scouting trip into the other clear cut, the first clear cut, the one that we were the closest to, just to kind of see what was around up in there. And A lot of locust trees, a lot of thorny things, blackberries, a lot more of that paulownia, and a lot of logging remnants, where they had discarded trees for whatever reason. But pretty up in there. It was definitely worth the walk. But let's take an opportunity to talk about gear and what worked and what didn't. Pretty much all my gear did in fact work quite well. I brought the heavy winter boots. They're the Wind River boots. They're insulated, and they were so warm. They were like 10 out of 10. They were great. I even walked through the stream with them, no leaks, anything like that. So I had warm feet the entire time. I had the Real Tree wool socks on, and those Kinko gloves. They did get pretty soaked, but they didn't soak through because they're waterproof. So I took the opportunity to dry those by the fire a couple of times. My singy jacket, my parka, which I did wind up bringing because I was kind of afraid of the temperatures on Monday morning. So it was well worth bringing. And the army jacket, the Ewoks or whatever they call it, their waterproof Gore-Tex jacket, that worked really well too. And both things I wound up using for other purposes. The waterproof jacket I actually hung up as part of the shelter on the really cold night. And the singy jacket, I laid that down and pulled the hood over top of my head while I was sleeping. And I mean, that was really comfortable, kind of very cushiony and pillow-like. So I stayed warm even in those really cold temperatures. But pushing through this stuff is like thicket. And I'm on a bit of an old logging road, so there's definitely thicker places than this up in there. For as much as this is a desolate place, the log over, I'm glad that they left the nurse trees. And the thing is, there's a lot of resources in an area like this. All these little saplings, great for shelter. Even these cutoffs that they've left behind. There's a lot of hollow logs in there, and I thought, man, if you were trying to do a more permanent shelter, a hollow log's a lot easier to split than a full log. And split that down in half, and you've got something you could make a roofing out of, kind of like tiles, like the curved tiles. I'll show you. There's a bunch right here, right there and there, all through here. This is all the hollows that they pushed off over the hill. They logged this like 5 years ago. That stuff's still pretty sturdy. It's white pine and oak for the most part. There might be a little bit of other things. We found a little maple, but yeah, you could split those in half pretty easy. You just start your axe and baton it on one side and then on the other, and whack that in half. 4-foot piece of roofing or something that's 20 inches wide. That's a pretty good chunk. But it'd take a lot of work. It'd be something for a much more permanent shelter, not just for 2 nights, but. Quite a bit of dried mullein in here too. Sometimes down around the base you'll find green leaves even in the winter. Fish hook? Maybe? Pretty wicked little thorns. Locust. Alright. Get into the forest a little ways here. Oh, just run this valley down. So it's getting quite a bit colder, probably 18, something like that right now. And I brought in a bunch of small sticks that I'm just breaking up for the fire so that I got some stuff that'll burn a little faster. I want some stuff that'll just give me some heat right now. So Byron pulled out because there was water getting down inside of his hammock. The snow was laying on the guide straps and then running down in. and it got his sleeping bag wet. So initially he was going to sleep in the car, and he decided to go ahead and get picked up. So we run him out to the main road, and they hadn't plowed the roads. I mean, the main road, they had like one stripe, but the side roads not so much. We got probably 6 inches of snow, something like that, maybe 7. But down the valley, it wasn't nearly as much. Getting back in here was not a struggle. I actually left it in 2-wheel drive, but I've got good tires on. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. Tomorrow's going to be significantly colder, so going out should be pretty decent. Once it, the snow gets different consistency, it's easier to drive on. This slushy stuff it'll kind of scoot you around. Okay, I'm gonna get set up for the night here and put my jacket on soon, and just try to keep this fire going. Good night. That's actually pretty nice in here now. I thought putting that mylar out made a huge difference. The heat's actually traveling in. The smoke's going out the corner. I bet it's 15 degrees warmer in here. It's pretty amazing. Nice little fire too. I collected a bunch of stickies. It'll help. I've had that sheet of Mylar since 2009. That was the last time I used it, and I shoved it into a Ziploc bag and kind of forgot about it until this trip. So I kind of threw it in at the last second, just in case, and I was glad I did, because that really made a heck of a difference. I also took a little log and weighted down the bottom edge of it to help air not go underneath. And this is the next morning. The snow has fallen, and it is cold. It was 7 degrees when we got up, and the sun wasn't up over the mountain yet. And there's the Mylar on the outside, and there's my army jacket hung there too to help kind of keep the Mylar in place. And because it's waterproof, it was fine. It was just well below freezing by that point. And this is the final trail out. We're getting close to the car, so we've walked, probably over 3/4 of a mile at that point. And I'm pulling the sled behind me. You kind of see it in the shadow. We're in the singy jacket, and once you start moving with that thing, like, you have to unzip it. And I did take down the shelter, completely picked up all the snare wire. The only thing I left there was the stone fireplace, because those stones came from like 3 feet away from there anyway. Yeah, it's really come up with a little bit, like 11 degrees out. Just get back, letting the car warm up. Let's get out of here. And as usual, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Catch you later.